It is a cold and rainy April 12th, 2018, and today I'm going to be taking apart my table saw. And I thought I would record that and maybe talk to you guys while I'm doing it about various things. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to start on the front here by taking off the fence. I'm going to be reusing the fence on the new temporary permanent table saw. Will be the one I'm building in between this and the final new table saw. So I'm not really calling the temporary one, which is just a piece of plywood with a hole in it with the saw mounted underneath. I'm not calling that a real table saw. So yeah, there's a bunch of screws that hold this rail on. And there's a lot of screws on there because they help to keep it straight, which is important for a fence system. So get those off, take that up, and have a look at it. And it's nice and straight, it looks good. Screws that hold this on, basically the same. Wood screws over on that side. Here that go into that extension table. If you're interested in knowing about the extension table and the outfeed table on this saw, I have an article on my website where I covered it. I didn't really make a video showing the process because it was a little bit too detailed. I really didn't see at the time I didn't see the value in it. Although I've been asked a number of times since then if I have a video covering it, so I guess there was value there. I just didn't recognize it. Anyway, so get these screws out. There's a lot of screws in here as well. And I'll take this thing and I'll kind of temporarily put it back together just so I don't lose the screws that I have with it. Okay, probably the next thing to take off would be this, which is my crosscut thing. And I found this incredibly handy ever since I built it. So this is something I'm going to miss. And this is something that I'll definitely be adding to the new saw when I get it done. In some form anyway. Okay, this wooden stuff that's on here is basically all one piece, but it's attached with screws. In this case, there's a nut behind, a long screw, and this will just pull out. When I built this extension wing and outfeed extension, I built it for like permanent. I didn't half-ass it. I did, I put the effort into it to make it good. So everything lines up properly and it's all made from quality material. So kind of ashamed to take it apart, but like I said in the previous video, I've gotten my value out of this saw over the time I've used it. That's basically all I'm looking for. When you're doing this, you really can't get too attached to things. Is that screwed underneath or is it nailed? Hang on, oh, it's screwed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can't get too attached to things because you have to shake things up. You have to keep things moving. You have to make changes for the better, hopefully. I mean, look around my shop. When I got here 5 years ago. This is just an empty garage with nothing on the inside, basically. It was a mess. And I took it to this, and it's all progress. Some of them were put on different times. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it'd be a different thing if I had something else I could use this saw for, but right now I'm just scrapping it, basically. And I'll reuse the parts that I can. I made a video on my Red channel covering why I was going to make a new saw, some of the reasons, and one of the bigger reasons is the lack of dust collection on this thing. I use a bin underneath, that gets most of it, but there are big gaping holes in here that just too much dust comes out through. So the new one won't have any of that. It'll be like completely sealed. Basically, it'll have a bin in the bottom for dust, for the bulk of the dust, but it will not have any openings like this. This got the belt coming out the back here with the motor, and it's crappy. Lots of screws to unscrew. Yeah, you have to keep the progress going. I mean, if you get too attached to stuff, you'll never get anywhere. You'll never get any better. You have to learn to let go. And boy, am I good at that. I can let go. No problem. So some of this stuff I'm keeping, the hardwood, can be somewhat reused. The back pieces here were all Baltic birch plywood. So I put those down in my cabinet down there. I'm saving all the screws, of course. The ones that are not bent, which is most of them actually. So it's all good. You recycle as much as you possibly can. And that will soothe your guilt somewhat. So there's only a couple of pieces of wood left here. I can take those off, and then I'll be right down to the raw saw on the top alone. Maybe it's a good time now to talk about why or what's going on with the saw and the reason why I've decided now to start building a new one. I mentioned that there's a problem with this, and the problem with it is that the lift lower mechanism has come unscrewed or undone somewhere on the inside, and it's probably an easy fix. Well, I know it's an easy fix, but I would have to strip the saw down basically, well, not as much as I've done now, but I'd have to get, take it off the thing, flip it over, get inside, probably spend 2 or 3 hours just fixing that problem. So I took it as a sign that, maybe I should, start to do this now. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And it's really a bad idea to be using a saw that has some mechanical defect that it really shouldn't have. So, what's next? I think I probably got to get that big hunk of concrete that I've got in the bottom down there out. The concrete that's down there, and that's the ballast for this saw, it's the reason why it's so darn heavy, is from my older table saw. The side table on that was actually poured concrete, and that was back when I had, a little bit more interest in overdoing things. But that was really a fantastic top. It was very flat. Like I didn't have any precision tools to measure it, but I do know for a fact that it was flat enough for a table saw. So I'm gonna pull that out now. It's the bin that I emptied yesterday. You know what I was thinking to do with this actually was to make a to make some lawn ornament out of it. So take it, you know, just the top part up here, not the motor in that, but make a set of legs from some steel pipe and then put it out, you know, not in my front yard, maybe in the backyard somewhere, and just let it rust. And I think that'll look cool after. Nah, it won't look cool. Who am I fooling? Anyway, let's get this done. Oh. Oh. Okay, that's out. Next I can take the motor off, and that'll lighten the saw up quite a lot. Again, this one I had this turnbuckle on here to put tension on the motor to keep it from jouncing up and down, which I didn't like at all. So I did this, and then this nut up here also holds this motor onto that, the back of the assembly here. It's those two studs that stick out. That, lift this up, take the link belt off, which is looking pretty worn actually. I don't know if it was that narrow when I put it on there. It doesn't look like it's, but you know, it's 5 years, quite a lot of use. So wire, I'm not going to get fancy with that. Just cut it and pull this right off. No, it needs to be undone more. Maybe I'll take it out all the way. There we go. Cut off this cord too. Is it unplugged? Yes. I'm gonna want to keep this switch and probably the box too, just because it's already made. Okay, I'm pretty sure I got the bolts out of the bottom, so this should just lift right up, and it does. And like I said, there's a lot of dust in here. I'll try to knock something out. And the more I think about, you know, making a some lawn art with this, the more I like it. I get the blade sticking up, and that's rusty. The whole thing uniformly rusted. That'd be great. People probably ask or say, why don't you sell it? But to be honest, you can get a better saw. You could get a better saw, say on Craigslist or a place like that, than this thing. I mean, there's nothing out of the ordinary about it, other than it belonged to me. But, you know, what's the value of that? I get as much dust out as I can before I put it outdoors. Okay. Air cleaner. Turn on the air cleaner. Wow, look at all the space I've got now. This would be great, actually. Maybe I shouldn't build a new table saw because I like having all this space. Anyway, so next thing up is the temporary table saw, which is just the plywood with the skill saw underneath and temporary fence rigged up. I'm going to use that to build the temporary permanent table saw, which I'm going to be using to build the permanent table saw, the long awaited and much delayed wooden table saw that I've been planning for years and talking about for years. It's finally going to happen, although I can't promise when. When I say temporary permanent table saw for this one in the middle here, it's gonna, I've got to do all my projects with that, so I have to make it good. Like I said, I'm gonna be making plans for it as well, so quite a bit of effort. I might be a little bit burned out on the table saw track by then. I know I have to get back and finish the jointer also, so lots of balls in the air type thing, lots of things to finish. But one thing's for sure, none of those projects will be on this channel. This channel is only for me talking and, of course, taking apart table saws, and I'm not going to be doing that again, at least for another 4 or 5 years.